So we kind of fumbled the bag yesterday, and I thought I kind of did fumble the bag today, but we came back and we managed to squeak out a small win on the day. It was a super volatile day, so I was shitting my pants a little bit, but we got that dub in the end. And I just want to quickly go over the first beautiful setup I saw today, and then I'll talk about the trade that I ended up taking. So going into the day, the first thing that I noticed was that we had swept this liquidity pool up here. So we swept these obvious highs. We swept these before market open. So market opens here, and then we start to take an absolute dookie. So we sweep these highs, and I noticed that we put in this 15 minutes breaker block here. So I'm watching price, I'm watching market open, and I'm waiting to see what price is going to do as it comes back into this 15-minute breaker. So I'm expecting bearish price action also because we have these equal lows below. So you can see low here, low here, low here. So we have a lot of equal lows down here. That's a great target. So I want to see price come back into this 15-minute breaker, boy, and wait for the reaction. And I can't play price on the 1 minute. I have no idea why. It lets me do it on the 2, but not the 1. So here we go. 9:48, we finally tap back into this 15-minute breaker, bearish breaker. And on the 3-minute, we have a beautiful inverse fair value gap. So we have one very obvious fair value gap on this leg. We tap back into this bearish 15-minute. So I'm watching price, and I want to see how price reacts in this fair value gap. Do we break through it or do we hold? So if we do break through, most likely we are going to expect lower. And what happens? We break through. This should have been my entry right here. This should have been my entry, and I sort of scared myself out of this position because I didn't realize how volatile price was. So I took the measurement tool out before hopping in the trade, and I could have just sized down, to be honest, but for the sake of simplicity, I just like trading one contract on all trades I take. So I took the measurement tool out. I saw that if this did get closed back above, it would be about a 45 point loss. So honestly, what I should have done is just sized down or just taken the trade with one contract, just because this looked so beautiful and the risk to reward was just really great. So let's say you go short here, stop back above this gap, and you target these equal lows. You're looking at around a 2 to 2.5. So what happens? Let's just take the sell to see what this trade would have looked like. You can see we come back into that 3-minute, we inverse it, retest it. Stop would have went to break even as soon as you take internal low. And bang, as you can see, we just take that low. So that would have been nearly been a 2,000 point win if I hopped in with my regular size being one contract. Was super super salty about missing that, especially considering I didn't trade Monday, didn't trade Tuesday, and took a small loss Wednesday. So I felt like this was my opportunity to capitalize. And I could have taken this trade on the 1 as well if I wanted to reduce risk a little bit. The 1 didn't look too bad either. I know some people hopped in here. And again, this would have been a decent trade. We get that close above this 1 minute. We get a little retest here, and then we drop and take a poo to these equal lows for 74 points, man. 74 points! That's a big trade. That's a big trade, especially for a guy like me. Like, most of my winners are 20 to 25 points. So a 70-point trade, 70-point win is diabolical work, man. That's real juicy. Anyway, so at this point, I'm watching price. I know that we sweep these equal lows. We sweep London low. We have some relative equal lows down here. So I mark these lows up too. And I just want to see how price reacts after sweeping London lows. Maybe we get a little bit of a reversal, so we start to dance around a little bit. And again, you could argue that this is a inverse fair value gap you could take. We invert it, but again, the risk to reward on something like this is just crazy. I'm not gonna have an 80-point stop just in case price comes back above this IFVG. It's just not worth it. The risk to reward here is just crazy, man. So I'm not taking a trade like this. I like to have tight stops, to be honest with you. So something like this is just crazy. 62-point stop, not worth it for me. So I keep watching. We sweep these lows down here. We sweep these lows, sweep London lows. So we sweep quite a bit of liquidity. And at this point, I am saying to myself that we might reverse. And what I noticed was we also had a big SMT here with ES. So NQ took London lows. ES, I'm not going to check it right now because then I'd have to mark this chart back up. But ES did not take London lows. You can check that for yourself if you like. So there was a big SMT put in here. ES didn't take London lows. NAS did take London lows. So I start looking for a potential reversal. And that's exactly what we get. So where did I take my trade? I'll show you right now. This was my trade right here. So again, SMT, we get a little push up, a little bit of a pullback. We leave a fair value gap, and I'm looking to go long. So this is a setup that me and Spen really, really love here. So I noticed that we put in this low and price is respecting this fair value gap. So it's respecting this fair value gap to the downside. And what I want to see before we go up is one last manipulation leg. So if we just put this low in and then inverse this, I would have been a lot more hesitant to take it. But because this wicks below this low, this to me is a manipulation leg. So we take this low, we take this by about a point, and then immediately skyrocket back up. And I love to see that. So again, this is sort of Spen and I's bread and butter setup. We love to see one last little manipulation leg of a low before we inverse. And that's exactly what we get. So again, put in that fair value gap, that 1 minute fair value gap. We respect it to the downside. We get that manipulation leg there, and as soon as we manipulate below this low, we immediately put in this big candle here. Now, I entered this trade a little bit early because I had a lot of conviction. So technically, this candle did not close above. It was, I'd say, like a half a point away. I had a lot of conviction just because of this manipulation leg. I love to see that. But on top of that, it was a bit of an accident entering early just because price was printing up here. The candle was up here with like 2 seconds to close. So I just assumed that it would close above. And then 2 seconds before the candle closed, we got a quick pullback. I was already in the trade. I probably would have taken it anyway. And then we get a push in my first target. And my only target really, because I took the whole position off here, was this swing high. So that was the trade for the day. I thought I missed the bus, but we did manage to squeak out a little shitter towards the end of morning session, and I'm happy for that. I believe it was about a $600 win, about 1.2%. And we captured about 35 points on this bad boy. So it doesn't look like a big trade, but price today was very volatile. So this was something I was looking for. I was not willing to have a huge stop, and we got that trade idea. So again, a stop would have been below this order block. I love trades where we put a OB below or above an inverse, just because you can put a hard stop there. If price comes back down and truly still wants to continue going up, odds are it will hold this order block. So I'm not waiting for price to close back below. All I'm waiting for in terms of a stop is to see if this order block holds or not. And if a candle closes below this order block or we wick below this order block, I'll simply be out of the trade because that means that price would probably want to keep dropping and my bias is wrong. So I love when we put in an order block beforehand, and it's just a great way to reduce risk because who knows if this order block isn't here, and let's say you exit as soon as you get a candle closing back below this gap, you could get a candle printing 20, 30 points. You never know. Anyway, so super nice to see an order block down here. That is sort of another line of defense if you're bullish in this scenario. And yeah, that was the trade. So it was about a 1 to 2.5 roughly. And yeah, man, it was a decent little trade. Again, I loved it just because of this manipulation leg. We put in that order block and we have a big SMT with ES. So decent little trade, man. I'm happy with the way I performed today. The funded account is sitting at 2.3 or 2.25K. So we need about 1.5% to pass this account. Again, you can see that price just decided to start running, and I was a little salty because I realized I could have just passed my funded account if I held this a little longer. But you can't get too greedy. You can never get too greedy. A $600 win, 1.2% is a substantial win for the boy. And yeah, that was it. That was the day summed up. So one and done. Thought I missed the setup for the day. It was a little bit salty, but again, we practiced the patience and we got our little setup here, man. So that is Thursday summed up for ya.